Internal Facebook documents about how the company fell short in tamping down the so-called Stop the Steal movement that culminated in violence on January 6th.
An anonymous former employee filed complaints with federal law enforcement.
The social media platform knows it can be harmful to teen users.
Facebook is well aware of the harms that its platform causes to society.
It seems that the federal government cares more about protecting the rights of massive tech companies than it does about its own citizens. This becomes apparent as I scroll through the internet. I often see things that are harmful, offensive, or downright false. And for people in my generation, this type of content is particularly harmful. I always wondered why this type of content was able to remain on the internet without sites facing consequences. Looking through the history of the internet in the United States provides an answer to this question.
It spans the globe like a superhighway. It is called Internet.
When the internet was picking up speed in the early 90s, it was unclear who held legal responsibility for what was said on internet sites.
As if!
A prominent example of this uncertainty was a 1994 New York Supreme Court case, Stratton Oakmont Incorporated versus Prodigy Services Company. In this case, Prodigy Services was deemed liable for the post of an anonymous user. Prodigy moderated its content to keep the site family-friendly, and because of this moderation, Prodigy was seen as a publisher of content, similar to how a newspaper is.
Newspapers control what goes into the newspaper. It's their paper, but they are responsible for what goes into it. So if they publish something that's knowingly false or published with reckless disregard for truth or falsity, they can be held liable.
This case was a turning point, and it helped lawmakers realize that if they wanted the internet to grow, they needed to protect smaller companies from the threat of defamation and libel lawsuits. This is where Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act comes in. Often called the 26 words that created the internet, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act was passed in 1996. It states that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider.
If a user were to post an obscene picture or content on Twitter, Twitter would not face any legal consequences resulting from that post.
It also has a clause that allows internet sites to regulate things they find offensive or dangerous.
The internet companies, we'll use Facebook as an example, have control of what goes on their platform.
It is undeniable that this law helped shape the internet. Companies were allowed to continue moderating their sites as they pleased, but no longer were they in danger of facing repercussions for things users of their sites posted.
We wouldn't have a modern internet if we didn't have Section 230. People would be too afraid to have anything being posted on their sites because they'd be worried that they'd be constantly hit with lawsuits.
The goal of this section was achieved. The internet looks completely different from 1996, when the law was passed. Without Section 230, the internet would look much different, and many people are in favor of getting rid of this section. Many politicians have recently called for modifications to or to repeal Section 230 entirely. While many Democrats and Republicans are against this section, they have different reasons why.
Liberals are saying, well, you allow so much misinformation, and we've seen that with COVID. Whereas conservatives claim you're blocking us from the internet.
Democrats often say that we don't remove enough content, and Republicans often say we remove too much.
Republicans believe that Section 230 allows companies too much power to remove content. They believe that this is a way to target Republicans specifically and to restrict what they can post. Democrats believe that Section 230 allows companies to keep up harmful content without consequence. While many people are opposed to this section, other people believe that it is necessary to ensure free speech on the internet.
I think the nation is better off having unrestricted free speech rather than trying to put limits on it. And if the limits are going to be imposed, it's going to be imposed by the government. And in a sense, that's what we call censorship.
The future of Section 230 is very uncertain. The last few years have increased scrutiny on the effectiveness of this law.
I think that Congress should update the law to make sure that it's working as intended.
While it has certainly served its purpose in helping the internet grow, the internet is no longer what it was in 1996.
It was written to give emerging tech companies, right, that were brand new, to give them the legal space to grow and innovate. But in the nearly 26 years since then, these companies have become giants, big tech, symbols of, like there were the robber barons and the railroads and the oil companies of the Industrial Revolution. And now these are the huge companies and the dominant companies of today. And Section 230 no longer serves the purpose that it did at the beginning, to allow brand new companies to emerge. So we've got to revisit Section 230 within the context of this moment.
Whatever happens, Section 230 will be cemented as a historic law that helped the internet become what it is today.